Your messaging during the campaign is marketing. Your pricing, how your strategy around pricing, it's marketing. Sometimes you might not know what you want. Start from what you are sure you don't want. Just begin to say, well, I don't like this, I don't want to be this, I don't want to be this. Is your solution a painkiller or a vitamin? Or sometimes you just need to roll up your sleeves and get down. Some things might not work out. Some things might work out. Skill is great, it's important, but your character is so important. No matter how small you are, you can effect change. So you need to understand your target audience. That's where it starts from. What are their pain points? And what are you going to be providing to solve these pain points?
I think it's been almost 2 decades, since his journey started as the technical officer for network quality at Airtel. Fast forward from there, you moved on to work with internet solutions, and then went to work with Redcard. At the time, they went back to Airtel, doing fantastic things with product, at that phase, of your life, Then from there, you moved on to work with, Huawei.
Correct.
And then from Huawei, you then moved on to work with UPS, leading marketing for those brands. Then to DHL Africa, where you're head of marketing at the time, and now the managing marketing director at MasterCard. How's that journey been like for you?
It's been very interesting. As you were talking, I was just smiling because you said almost 2 decades. In my head, I'm still in my 20s. My brain, still in my 20s. And yesterday I have mentees. So there's a lady I'm mentoring as well from Kenya, and I was trying to remember, and I was like, wow, it's almost 20 years.
Yeah.
In here, it doesn't feel that way. It's been an amazing journey, and as I was saying earlier, you have your ups and your downs. For me, this journey didn't just start with getting the first job. It started from university.
Okay.
I've always been curious and really almost been envious of people who've always known what they wanted to do. So, you have those kids in secondary school, university who say, oh, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor. And they know it from the beginning. I wasn't one of these. I wasn't. I was always just that guy who could do a lot of things. I studied computer science. In fact, if I tell you how I started computer science, you would laugh, but let's leave that. But I studied computer science, and I was lucky enough after school to have my first job with Airtel. Then it was V-Mobile. Interestingly enough, I think everything starts with the power of words, the power of vision. When I was in year 2, we went on an excursion to that same company. Is Airtel now, but then it was Econet. Remember?
Okay.
It started out as Econet, V-Mobile, transitioned into Zain. It transitioned to Airtel. So at Econet, I was blown away, and those were the early days of GSM. In fact, that was 2001.
Yeah.
I was blown away by technology. It was very exciting then, mobile telephony. And when I went into the technical building, which would eventually be my first office, I was blown away. And I in my heart, I whispered to myself, God, I want to work in this.
When year 2?
I was in year 2 in university. I was like, God, I want to work in this place. And behold, 3 years later, that was my first job in that building.
Wow.
So I tell people the power of positive thinking, the power of your words.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting journey, and I'm very grateful to, of course, God first of all, and to the many mentors that I've had along the way. So it's been good.
Beautiful. I mean, when you were speaking about, year 2 and the power of being able to manifest things where you think positively with your words, I want to double click on that. Yes, there's the God factor, but what were those things, that you sort of, were intentional about, when you started off as the technical officer, ensuring network quality, at the time? What were those things you were intentional about? And it's still with you today. You're still working, towing that path, still guiding your decisions? What were those things?
I think the first thing you want to do is understand your environment. You need to, for me, especially when I go into a new environment, and when I started there, it's less talking and more listening, more observing what is going on. So my aim, especially starting out then, was to learn as fast as possible and as much as possible, and to have an impact as quickly as possible. So I studied computer science, but my first job was core engineering.
Yeah.
So unlike my colleagues who probably started out, went to school and studied engineering, they were in a better position to understand what was happening. I had to learn a lot. I had to read a lot. But even with putting extra effort, there are other things that I had going for me. And I think these are the things that they don't necessarily teach you in school. And I've found in my career that those soft skills are the ones that take you. So one is, the ability to be likable.
Okay.
When you are new in those places, apart from learning quickly and listening and understanding the environment, understanding the players, because in every organization, in every environment, you have the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah. So you want to know how to play those different characters. So with me, I found that people who were cool liked me. People who had a reputation as really tough and not really nice, they liked me as well.
Interesting.
So I built goodwill by helping where I could, and that's where sometimes I struggle with some people who are just not nice in the workplace, or are obnoxious, or are coming too busy, because you don't know what will happen in the future. So for me, I always try to be helpful as I'm learning and just have a great character, because character takes you further as far as I'm concerned. Skill is great, is important, but your character is so important. And we talked about manifesting those positivity. So another thing that used to happen then was I found that I was doing my job. I was 1 year in, even before then, but I didn't really enjoy it.
Oh, okay.
I did not enjoy it. I was good at it. I made sure I was good at it. In fact, in my first year, for many years, I could see the impact of some of the projects I did in my first year as a fresher. So I believe that anyone can create change, can have a major impact. Most people won't know what I'm talking about, but whenever I see base stations all across Nigeria, I see some of the things I did 18 years ago as a small boy. I initiated them, got my bosses to buy into it. They got their bosses to buy into it, and we changed the whole system. So no matter how small you are, you can effect change. But I always knew that I was not necessarily happy with what I was doing. I felt I'll be better with a role that was more customer facing or people related. In my first role, my major headache were my tools, my computer with the capacity to crunch numbers. But I felt I'll be better in maybe marketing. So even those early days, I used to say, you know what, I'm going to market. I'm going to go to market. I didn't know how that was going to happen. I didn't know. I just used it. And not just saying to myself, I used to tell my colleagues then, I'm going to marketing.
Why?
I don't know. Marketing just felt like it was fun. Most people see only the fun part of marketing, which is the events and advertising. And when we're organizing company events, you just knew it was marketing guys that used to do it. So I just felt, I'll be good there.
Cool.
So I used to say, I'll go to marketing. So a colleague of mine moved to marketing as a product manager.
Okay.
And there was an opportunity. And again, like I said, goodwill, he recommended me. I went in, did my interviews, passed. And that's how I moved into the marketing function. Okay. But I was still more technical because I was a product guy. So in Airtel for many years, I was a product guy in those within the marketing function. But the good thing about a product guy is that we are in between core tech and the market. So it was, I think, a good training ground for what I am today.
Beautiful. So let's talk about product. Products sometimes are created and they do well. Sometimes they're created and they fail. What would you say, are some of those things, that you have sort of leveraged, when creating? I think you sort of worked on products for over a decade now, well over a decade, So, but what are those things that differentiates a good product from a not so great product?
Okay, so great question. I think it all starts with the customer, your consumer, your end user. Whatever you're crafting, always needs to start from that perspective. I've worked with and consulted with people that just have a gut feeling that, oh, I like this, so if I do this, everybody will like it. Well, it doesn't necessarily work that way. So you need to understand your target audience. That's where it starts from. What are their pain points? And what are you going to be providing to solve these pain points? Another thing I also like to look at when it comes to product development or service development, depending on how you look at it, is your solution a painkiller or a vitamin? So think about it. So think about it. They tell you vitamin C is good for you, vitamin B is good for you, cod liver oil is good for you. They are nice. They are really nice. They help you live longer. They help you with fresh skin. I think that's called liver oil. And we all know it, but when last did you take vitamin C?
Can't remember.
I'm pointing at the camera guy. When last did you take any? Apart from this, when they said you must do a thing. When last did you take a vitamin? There are people that take it, don't get it. But because it is not painful to not take it, so sometimes we overlook it. But have a good migraine where half of your head is spinning you. You look for the painkiller immediately.
True.
Yeah. So for me, when I think of products, I always think about, is this product a painkiller? Is it solving a painful need? Or is it a vitamin? Is it a nice to have? You understand? And that's not to say you don't make money from nice to have.
Yeah.
The Ferrari is not a painkiller, but it's really nice to have. If I can say that, it fits the need of the affluent user at that point in time. I'd say an interesting painkiller that comes to mind immediately is, think about a student who wants to write JAM, struggling with mathematics. And you can't enter university without passing maths. Yeah. That's a painkiller. If you are a tutor or someone providing a solution to help that student pass JAM or pass an exam, that's a painkiller.
True.
You understand?
True, makes sense.
You are traveling and your tire, something happens to your tire, you need to get a vulcanizer. At that point in time, that vulcanizer is providing a painkiller, at that point in time. So these examples might be a stretch, but that's how I look at it. So you think of your audience, you think, are you providing a painkiller or a vitamin? Because how you approach the market, your go-to-market strategy will depend on this. Then, of course, your product market fit. Because sometimes you can have a product that the market is not ready for. Today, everywhere we go, we can't do without ATMs because we have cash. But I remember, I think it was 1994, my first experience with an ATM was at First Bank Marina branch. That was the very first ATM I saw, and nobody touched it. It was that big machine that everybody was afraid of. 1994, I think, but it was there. It was doing the same thing, almost the same thing it's doing now. But then you didn't really have cards. People didn't really know what it was about. At that point in time, that product, that solution was there before the market was ready for it. So you need to achieve product market. Another mistake a lot of people make is, they spend a lot of time, effort, value, money, building a product or a business or a solution without testing the market. In tech, they talk about minimum viable product. So I think creating that minimum viable product, which is a simple version, the most simple version of your product, you can push to your customers or your intended audience, that you can use to test how they would use that solution. Why that's important is that a lot of people might not know it, but your customers tell you how to develop your product. By actively, sometimes their response might be explicit in that they are voicing out what they need. In certain points, their request might not be explicit. I'll give you an example with WeChat.
Okay.
For people who don't know, WeChat is the largest social platform in China. It's huge.
Yeah.
Amazing, by the way. When it comes to technology, I think it's actually ahead of a lot of the social platforms we use here in Africa and in the West. It's amazing. When we were bringing WeChat to Nigeria, West Africa, because of Nigeria and Ghana, we went through a phase where we were testing the product in market. So we had young people coming to an environment.
Yeah.
And what we did, we had cameras that would be looking at their faces and at the phone. So because sometimes, I don't know whether it's just a Nigerian thing, sometimes when you ask a question, what do you think about this product? Sometimes people lie. I don't know whether they're trying to impress you or I don't know. Nigeria, sometimes they lie. So sometimes I don't even listen to what they're saying. And I'll give you another example. Sometimes you might be traveling and you're saying, oh, sir, please, can you direct me to that place or somewhere? They'll say, some people will say, go like this, go like this. In reality, they don't know. Instead of them to say, I don't know. But they will now give you
The wrong direction.
In some cases also, someone will say, turn left. This is my right hand. They'll say, turn left. So in those instances, I don't listen to what they are saying. I'm looking at where they're pointing to, because their body is saying the truth. You might be saying something else. So in that scenario, we had people just interact with the app, to see how easy, to see the difficulty, because the developers are in China. The Chinese grew up with
The different mentality, culture is different.
Where the buttons are. So in some cases, we would see that we ask someone, how was it? If you say it, that's okay. But we noticed that he was trying to get into the app and he's frowning, he's struggling. So in that scenario, we're watching not just getting his feedback in the form, but we were also looking at his response, or our response to each interaction with the app. And that way we were able to get the real information we needed to optimize the app. So your minimum viable product also helps you achieve that in a more cost-effective manner than spending 2 years developing something and it take it to the market and the market rejects it. It's so painful.
Beautiful. I think that's quite profound. Again, great way to start would be to start with the minimum viable product. But also, from what you said now, it's critical that you sort of get insight from the audience, like have focus groups, just get some insight around the products, and I think that's quite profound and saves you cost and time.
A lot of headache.
Beautiful. And I think there's also that part of, pain relievers, game creators, and how just piecing all of those points together, in creating that product, and it's connected to marketing and what you do now.
My current job, yes, is is a technology company. MasterCard is a technology company in the payment space. A lot of people, when they think of it, they just think of the cards, but that's a product. It's one of the products. It's wider than that. But for what I do, marketing is so beautiful. A lot of people, when they think of marketing, they just think of advertising, the flashy part of marketing. But when you go deep into it, especially for someone like me that has worked in different aspects of marketing is psychology. And that psychology is, you need to understand your audience. Again, we're going back to audience. You need to understand your audience so that you can create demand for the product or service you're selling. So sales, and people confuse sales and marketing. Sales close the deal. They get it done. They push that product and get it done and get the money out of the customer. But marketing creates demand for that product. And in certain instances, your marketing even does all the work for the salesperson, and they just need to be there to close the deal. So for me, I love marketing because you need to understand the human psyche to be a true marketing professional. And marketing cuts across a wide spectrum. So in some, it's marketing, product development, it's marketing. You need to understand the product that will suit the market. Part of it is marketing. Your messaging during a campaign is marketing. Your pricing, how your strategy around pricing, it's marketing. Then of course, ensuring that customers hear about your product, which is the advertising, which is strategic placement of your ads. That's marketing. So I love it. It's such an incredible, interesting function.
Beautiful. Your role set up also covers West Africa.
Yes.
If you look at where we are now as a region, what are the challenges you currently think exist, from a technology standpoint, and even from a marketing standpoint as well, and what solutions do you recommend in the short term, or the medium term that would also help, alleviate some of those challenges?
I think as a region, we have something going for us in that as part of ECOWAS, there's free movement. I'll put in air quotes. There's free movement of goods and people. Right. So people, yes, that's easy, and goods as well. But I think we also need to reduce a lot of the friction. And interestingly enough, before MasterCard, I worked in logistics.
Yeah.
So I can tell you a little about trade. It is easier to trade with the UK or Europe, to trade with Asia, China, India, than it is to trade with people in Senegal. I think as Africans, we do ourselves a disservice in not fixing that. Of course, there's a lot of efforts going through the Africa Continental Free Trade area. I think it's going to take a while for us to truly get there. But as a species, humans, development has always gone with trade. So we need to find easier ways to trade with ourselves. I think that's what our nations as West Africa or as Africa as a whole, we need to focus on, whether it's in goods and physical goods, whether it's in payments, enabling payments, because again, trade, payments is part of it.
Correct.
So I think there's a lot of work going there. And like we discussed earlier, it's all an evolution. It's not going to happen in one day. You can see, at least in the last 10 years, preceding 10 years, the next 10 years, there are small improvements happening. I'm not sure it's happening as fast as you and I want, but there is progress. But again, there will be sacrifices that need to be made as organizations. From a tech perspective, we are in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution with AI and robotics. We as a people need to, and our government needs to also need this, and I think they are trying. We need to leverage this. With telecoms, we leapfrogged because we, as Nigerians, we don't have the culture of, we didn't grow up with the culture of telephones all over the place. Just a few, I think less than 1 million telephone lines before GSM. So GSM, the mobile telecoms, they helped us leapfrog. As a people, because we have such a young, vibrant population, we need to leverage AI and robotics to improve our productivity. There's a lot of, when I don't always limit myself to marketing, but as an economy, there's a lot of talk about our wages, inflation, but we don't talk a lot more about productivity. And when you look at our markets, we are not as productive as we should be.
Yes.
And we have such a young, vibrant demography. So we need to find a way to leverage so that we can compete And to be honest, countries compete. I don't think we see it, but we all compete. We must compete with Asia. We must compete with the West. We must compete within Africa as well as Europe. We must compete in terms of, where would the jobs be going? So for instance, in the 90s, early 2000s, a lot of the outsourced customer service jobs went to India. So you realize that, a lot of your call center people were in India, but they were serving countries in the West. A lot of manufacturing jobs were outsourced to China. Now, in recent years, because of the political issues with China, some of them have been moving now to India because what? They've educated their population to the extent that they can leverage the opportunities for productivity. So a lot of those are going to Taiwan, they are going to Vietnam, they are going to India. When you look at countries that could also play in that game, Nigeria is there because we have the population.
Yes.
We do have the population, but are people skilled enough? Is it easy to do business? So those are the small things that they're not small. Those are the things we need to begin to look at to say, how do we improve productivity? That we begin to leverage our young population, our vibrant population, our location. In fact, our location where we are,
which is really super strategic.
To be honest, all the benefits happening right now in the Middle East, so Dubai, Qatar, from an aviation perspective. Again, I was in logistics. Because of our geography, if we had our ducks in a row, we should be the ones benefiting it because we're literally in between the East and the West. So I'm a very optimistic person. I don't see them as challenges. I see them as opportunities for us to do the right things and leverage those opportunities out there.
Beautiful. I mean, there's so much insight in what you shared right now. Thinking about it from trade, logistics, even as the people, there's so much strengths that are just lying fallow and they need to be harnessed. But I want to dial back a little.
Okay.
What was childhood like for you growing up?
Okay, so I'm an only boy.
Oh, okay.
I have 3 sisters.
Interesting.
My dad was in the military.
Oh.
Yeah, so I come from very...
Whoa.
Also a doctor. So he's a military doctor. My mom was a banker. So and she was first of 17 kids.
Whoa.
So I grew up.
That's huge.
Yeah. So from her, from both of them actually, I learned responsibility, discipline, and dedication to work. Because you must work, whether you're working hard or working smart or both, to reap the benefits. I think from a value perspective, I think we're not emphasizing the need to be productive. I'm going back to productive, so that we just want to reap without working. So I grew up in that environment where, your work ethic, discipline, but it was a loving family. I love my sisters. I have a lot of cousins, uncles, aunties. Because of who my dad was or is there, and my mom, I've always been that kind of person that loves to read wide. So I think I'm like my dad in that. I like to read wide. So I like academia is important, and there is a difference between education and schooling. I'm not necessarily a great fan of schooling as it is today, but I understand why we need it. We need the structure. But I'm big on education. So whether it is self-education, whether it is in a schooling environment, it's more about not just about getting the certificate.
Yeah,
I've never been that kind of person. So because I want to get certificate. It's why mine is always, what do I want to get out of this? So I have always read far and wide. And that's how I grew up. I was encouraged to do that. So I'll give you an example. I don't know whether it was that way for most secondary schools, but in a lot of schools, they put you in science, commercial, technical for some schools. So I was a science student. I have the geeky look. Yeah. I always thought I was going to be a doctor, a medical doctor like my dad. But maybe I'll be a doctor. Anyways, so I was a science student, but my dad insisted that even in science, I do literature, which was not in science. By default, you were not do geography or something like that. But I didn't do geography. I did literature, and I don't regret it because I'm in marketing today. In terms of crafting things. Those fundamental, those principles are there with me today.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And to be honest, because I used to read wide, almost anything geography students let, I know it. So I'm that guy that knows a lot about a lot.
Encyclopedia.
My wife used to say, I hope you make money. All this, she calls it useless knowledge. But they come in, they come in and they know they always come in. So I do a lot of talking, I speak, and I just pull something from somewhere, and sometimes people are like, how do you even know that? So yeah, I think it's useful, and one day I'll find a way to monetize.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting because I like the point that you raised around education, because there's deficits, when you think about it in the country and on the continent as a whole, and actual education is really important, for the productivity of the people, so looking at that, and obviously your background, being raised by, a soldier, a military man, and a doctor, as well as your mother being a banker. You said you picked up.
She'll be upset if I don't say it. Banker stroke lawyer.
Oh, so really?
She was a lawyer, but she didn't necessarily practice. She'll be upset if So yes, mommy, lawyer as well. Interesting. But those values, you picked up from them, they play a critical role, in your life now. For a young boy or girl, out there in a 20s or in his 20s or early 30s or whatever it is, trying to make sense out of life, looking at your journey, family-wise, how you were brought up, and even your career journey for almost 2 decades, what would be your recommendation or advice to such people? So, the Gen Z stroke Gen Alpha, they live in such an interesting world in that, and it's also scary, to be honest, sometimes when I think about it. For my generation, I'm a millennial, early millennial, we saw what life was before social media and mobile telephony, and of course we're seeing it. So we have, there's a balance over there. But you are coming where, to a generation where everything is on demand, is instant. So certain values, certain principles, I'm missing. The ability to be patient as well, because think about it. You want a taxi today, Uber, Bolt.
Yeah.
You didn't go through what I went through as a child, that will stand out and will wait. Taxi
those yellow ones.
Yellow. Very proud. They try to go to their taxi place. Very proud guys. They'll sit down and do you anyhow. Oh, you wait. You negotiate, you'll be angry, you say, oh, and the next one, so those things, you joke about them, but they also teach you never perseverance, patience, the ability to negotiate. So there are a few things that are missing because those things aren't there. But again, you also live in an environment where you can be in your bedroom and have ring lights and provide value to people across the world. Not just value, but you can earn a great living from your room. Whether it's creating content, whether it's developing an app, you can do that. A lot of those gatekeepers have been broken. So you can do that. A small boy who knows how to develop can create an app and potentially can go viral. So there's such a big opportunity. The tools, So I when I left school, for us it was holding CV and going that just at the room, door to door, the whole VI going door to door to drop CV with security guys at the gate. You don't necessarily need to do that now. the tools are there, Jobberman, LinkedIn. If you are looking for a job, there. If you want to start your own, the tools are there, social media is there. You can just start something and earn a living. I'm not saying it's easy.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the threshold is down. So it's easier, you know, and I almost envy them. So I would say not everybody is going to be an entrepreneur. Some people will go through the corporate environment. And in many cases, you might not, like me, you might not know what you want to be. I would say to you, don't be afraid. You're not the only one. Sometimes you might not know what you want. Start from what you are sure you don't want. You know, just begin to say, oh, I don't like this, I don't want to be this, I don't want to be this. One way through the line, you will find out, oh, okay, I don't want this, but I want this. Or I might want this, I might want this. And I was telling my mentee, you know, start to do a lot of things, you know, whether it's in tech, whether it's in fashion, whether it's in this, whether it's in that, especially in that beginning, that early stage. Somehow, one, you're creating skill, you're building skills, you're building knowledge. One way or the other, through your efforts, through the relationships you build, it begins to form what you would do eventually. You understand? And sometimes you go through a path because God is preparing you for the future. So just take that step. Do as much as you can, learn as much as you can. Now, in the beginning, you just want to learn and experience as much as possible. And over time, if serendipity happens, things happen, and your path is open for you. But of course, I don't want to make it sound like, oh, everything is locked. You also need to be deliberate. You need to be deliberate in those relationships you build. You need to be deliberate in helping people. You know, by helping people, one, you're practicing your skill. You're investing in someone else, and you're building goodwill. Because if you help someone, when there's an opportunity to help you, most likely they will help you in the future. I think those are some of the things that people need to, especially young people, they need to think about, and leverage technology. It's there. You know, there's a lot of hype sometimes around technology. For me, technology is an enabler. It's just what electricity was in the early 20th century. You know, it's an enabler. So leverage it, use it, learn as much as you can. And AI just is taking things to the next level. I learned something last night. I'll just say, watch this space for people that watch this. As in the things we can do now.
Oh yeah.
So, like I said earlier, the fourth industrial revolution is happening.
Yeah, that's not fair.
Right in front of us.
Yeah.
You need to leverage it.
Beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing that. I also like the fact that you ended up with technology being an enabler. You know, there's so much opportunities that people can take advantage of. You know, but like you said, one way to start will be to say, okay, this one is what I don't want to do. This is what I don't want to be. You know, maybe from there you can then trickle down to something that, you know, you'll find, you know, useful for yourself. You know, and then you can make, you know, a living out of. But before we let you go, I wanted to just check in with you on something. So when speaking with you earlier, you talked about, you know, how it's important, you know, to either work smart or work hard. You know, you also made, you know, some comments around being deliberate. You started off, you know, your year 2, you know, going to work at Airtel for whatever reason at the time, but you professed, you manifested it, you said it to life, you made it happen, you know, and a few years after, you're at that office. You know, are there things that, you know, you did at that time, at that phase of your life? So imagine a young boy, young girl, you know, starting out their career, you know, they don't like what they're not enjoying so much of what they're doing, but they're just doing just to make, you know, the salary, to make a living, you know, but they have big dreams, they have big ambitions, they have big goals. You know, you've gone ahead to do so well for yourself, you know, in the past, you know, years, almost 2 decades now. So I think you're well running enough, to talk about this. So I'm going to ask that for those people, right? Their late 20s, or early 30s in their first job or second job. They're just struggling. There's traffic in Lagos. They struggle. They have to earn bosses. They're going through a lot. Sometimes even their salary is not enough to even take them home when they take out transportation, feeding and whatnot. For such people, what would be your recommendations, to them, looking at your own journey, as a person?
I think I'm the right person to talk about because that falls into transformation. That's also, when you feel you're in a rut, and I've had that many times in my career where I'm just like, oh, what's going on? First things first, maybe I would say, and it comes in different forms. Maybe you are in a rut, maybe you want to change careers, maybe you want to change jobs, maybe you want to earn more. First of all, you need to take a step back. Because sometimes, especially for people in Lagos or in a stressful location, and anywhere you are in the world, take a step back and just look at your career and what the things are important to you. So your career, your finances, your family, you need to take a step back and more or less visualize what you want.
Okay.
Sometimes you might not say, oh, I want to work in this particular place, but I want to earn more. That's enough. And you need to now begin to say, okay, what do I need to do? Do I need to upskill myself? So for me, for instance, at a point I did project management
Courses.
Yeah, courses, very important. Education, remember, back to education.
Yeah.
At a point I did project management just to upskill myself. I did an MBA, startups, and those came in handy later. At a point I started doing other things, and I, most people know about my formal career. They don't know about my informal career. So I look at the lights here. I was a photographer for a while.
Interesting.
I would finish time at Airtel, and at night I'm covering events in the middle of the night.
Wow.
Till in some cases till 3 a.m.
Wow.
And in the next morning I'm
still have to resume
my work. A lot of people don't know those parts of my life. I used to sell phones. I used to repair phones at some point in my life. So I've done a lot of entrepreneurial things. I even owned a bakery, a big goods. A lot of people really on my wife's business, but it was me. I was delivering donuts at some point in my career. So, sometimes you just need to roll up your sleeves and get down. Some things might not work out. Some things might work out. But for me, I've learned from every situation: selling phones, doing photography. And I've learned everything has come in, and I've learned it. And of course, in my next venture, I'm sure all those learnings will come in. So I would say, take that step back, understand where you are, visualize where you want to be, and begin to take those steps. Sometimes because the weight of the world is on you, taking that first step might be difficult. But what do they say? Journey
with 1,000 miles starts with the step.
That first step, you need to take it. So if you're going to take a course, take that course. Learn. Sometimes, we want to do it ourselves. But what I've learned, and I learned that the hard way, funny enough, we need people. Your network. That thing they say, your net worth is your net. Your network is your net worth. So I'll give you my first job. My first job, for instance, I don't think I've ever said it. I did not merit that job.
Really?
No, I did not. I think this is the first time I'm saying that publicly. I got that job because of goodwill of my parents. So it was network that got me my first job. I've never said it out. And for many years, to be honest, because I always felt like, I didn't deserve this, my first job. So I worked extra hard to merit my next few jobs. And obviously since then, I've always merited all the other roles I've gotten. But what that taught me was that your network helps you. And it might not be your direct network. It might be someone else's network.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, who is the beneficiary?
You.
You understand? So in that scenario, my first job, I was a beneficiary, but the goodwill wasn't earned by me. It was earned by
the parents.
But in moving from networks to marketing, the goodwill was from me. And in all those other steps I've taken up to today, the goodwill was what I'd done with my hands, working with people, helping people. Also, people knowing that, oh, this guy can deliver, he's credible, he can. So sometimes, especially to young people, sometimes that first step might not be you. It might be, so leverage your network, your uncles, your cousins, let them know that you're looking for a job. You never know where the opportunity will come from. And for the people stuck in the ruts, and people always ask, oh, Ide, how do you get this? Just be great at what you do. Be great. Don't be mediocre. Be great at what you do. And be great to people. No man is an island. I've been a beneficiary of people. And if I've not called you to say thank you, forgive me. Thank you. But I've called them, they are my friends. But each step has always been someone that thinks of you that thinks, oh, this guy can do this. And, and I go in and I deliver. So, but they thought of me because I had invested in their lives one way or the other. I've been great at work and supported, So if you're at work or doing business, don't cheat people. So those small things that you think, oh, you earn.
You're smart.
You're smart. We always feel like we're smart. We cheat our customers. That's the one I don't understand. Why are you cheating your customer? They will refer your customer. If you are doing well with a customer, they will refer you to someone else. So even at work, in the corporate environment, be nice to people, help people where you can. Of course, in certain environments, the situations you
draw the line,
and be prepared for that, because I'm always prepared for that. I'm not just a nice guy.
I'm sure it goes back to your dad.
Yeah, and people who know me know. I'm not just all smiles every time, but in life there's a balance. When and the Bible says there's time for everything. When it's time to battle, you battle. When it's time to smile, you smile. When it's time to have fun and have this podcast, but in all, put your best and make sure that no matter who you come in contact with, whether it's a one-time person on the street or someone, let them live with a positive view of you. I think that's what life is about, to be honest, for us to come in and add some positivity to ourselves, to our families, and to the community. I think that's my worldview.
Beautiful. I think that makes a lot of sense. Before we let you go, I just have one more question. Like you said earlier as well, there are life stages, in life generally. When you go to that phase of, maybe getting married, choosing a partner, or maybe even raising children, all of those things, right? How were you able to marry those? What were you intentional about? Say for example, choosing a partner, even time to start raising kids or whatever it is. What were you intentional about? That you were very deliberate in terms of you wanted to ensure that it complements your career, it builds your career, it helps you. What were those things?
This is such an important question, and in choosing your partner, for many people, they will say that's the most important decision you make in your life, because your partner can make or break you. How much will I say? So I've been very lucky. She won't be happy if I say it, but I'll say it. I chose well. I chose well. So my wife is amazing.
Beautiful.
A very lovely lady. Dear that heart.
Awesome.
If we were in a all men's environment, I'll speak freely, but for this, I'll say you need to go with a lot of people just go with their hearts into those decisions for their spouses, their heart or their eyes. They go with their eyes. Only the eyes, or just the heart. Your head must also be in the game. Because as humans, we're a mixture of mind, body, spirit, right? And you need to find someone that aligns with your values. And I don't know if a lot of people ask the right questions before jumping into marriage. but we need to ask the right questions. You need to understand the value system, where your partner is going, their ambitions, and they need to align. You need to understand how they are going to raise your kids. You know, all that needs to align so that when you're in there, because you're in there, you have a more positive than negative experience. Then with kids, and I think this is very important. I think for me, this is the most important job as a dad. For men, first of all, we need to ensure that we live as long as possible so that we're there for our kids. Because so much happens, sometimes financially, emotionally, when the dad, and I'm speaking as the dad, is not there. And I've seen a lot of males and females who go the wrong way or are impacted negatively because they didn't have a father figure. You know, and in certain communities, you hear, oh, there are no dads there, and you see the negative impact because the men are not there. Or in some cases, the men are there, but they're not doing what they need to be doing. So, again, I was raised in a disciplined home. I'm quite disciplined. I believe in spare the rod, spoil the child. I believe in that because, and I said again, there's time for everything. I say, even with our generation, a lot of people, I don't know, they want to be friends with their kids. There's a time for that. There's a time where your kids need to learn discipline, especially when they're young, so that they know that when you're out together, you just look at them and they know that they need to behave. I've seen scenarios where the parent, oh, sit down, come, and kids are just doing anyhow. And I struggle with it because fundamentally, socially, I think we need to raise kids that are that you don't want to limit them, right? Yeah, but you need to raise kids that are likable as well. You don't want your kid to be in an environment where everybody's like, oh, no, this kid is putting everything down. You also want to give them room to grow. So for me, I balance everything. The discipline is there, but also creates outlets for creativity. And for me, education is not schooling. So school is important, but I'm ensuring that we're identifying those areas where the kids have interest, whether it's passion, whether it's in swimming, whatever it is. And we're putting efforts to ensuring that they thrive in whatever aspect. And as my kids are pre-teenage years now, I'm a girl dad. I'm not
two girls, right?
2 girls. So it's a weird situation for me. They are going to secondary school now, so
Can you imagine?
we'll see. Help us. We'll see how it goes. But I think we've impacted the values that they need, so they know that when they go somewhere, they're not just representing themselves; they're representing the family, and that's how it used to be, and that's how it should be. They represent us there, and you know that when you go there, there are certain things I expect of my child, and I think we've done a good job in impacting that in them, and I hope that they go out there
and represent well. Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's been an honor, having you on this episode, chatting with you and learning from you, from your world of experience, the gems and insight you've dropped, and shared with us. Thank you so much. I think that's a very perfect place to leave it. So thank you so much once again, Dave, for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.